So let's not piss off the bad guy, you're trying to say. Let's not catch him right away when he goes through the door, because he might get pissed off when his penis blows off or something like that, or his ass is half missing because he puts it in the back. We don't want to make him mad. We want to let him get out with the money.
I'm going to tell you, that happens all the time. I wasn't part of the robbery, actually. In 2003, when I worked in another institution, I was not TerraBank. That day, I was supposed to open, but my manager goes, "Hey, can you close? We will open till 8 o'clock at night. Can you close for me and I'll open? Because I have my kid's son's my soccer game. He had a soccer game." And I go, "So sure, don't worry about it." I walk in at 11. All of a sudden, I see yellow tape everywhere. I'm like, "Oh my God, what happened? We got robbed. We just got robbed." And that's exactly what happened. And they never caught that guy. And at that time, you're talking about 2003, we didn't have the die pack anymore. It was just the paint money.
And what people don't realize is the die pack is not meant to create injury or cause injury.
No.
It's meant that die actually stays on your body. You could try to wash it off.
Exactly.
It will not wash off. It'll stay on there for days, for weeks. So when the FBI is doing their investigation and they come across, okay, this is a possible suspect, there is no way when they look at the cameras and he has it in his hands, his arms, that right there, that's all the evidence you need right there. Usually it's a red dye, and that the red dye, and that's the evidence.
You either see a red or you see a purple, or the purple dye, but it no longer exists.
Gotham Investigations. We have Ileana Cabajal here with us today, and she is a professional banker from the banking industry. And what bank are you with?
TerraBank.
TerraBank. And what locations do you have?
Well, we have several locations. We have 4 locations. We have our Sunset Drive, our Coral Gables, and where I'm at right now is Westchester and Hialeah, but our Westchester will relocate to Doral. May or June, we'll be moving our office to Doral, so I'm looking forward to that.
Now, you deal with a lot of local investors, but you also deal with a lot of foreign national investors.
Yes, we also work with foreign nationals because TerraBank, our main shareholder, he's from Nicaragua. He's also the owner of Bank Pro, Grupo Promérica, which these are banks that are located in other countries. They refer business to us. So we have an international department as well.
So if somebody wanted to contact you and open up like a business account or a personal account, do you have a website that they can go to?
We definitely do have a website. We also have what's called our TerraLink, which will send them a link that they can go ahead and fill out everything manually. And that will get sent to us. And we try to make it as easy as possible and as smooth as possible for our clients, trying to make it paperless as much as we can.
Do you have an office number and office extension if they wanted to open that through you?
Yes, we do. We have our office number. They can call myself, and they can also call my cell phone. That's what differentiates us from the competition, our personalized service.
So we've worked several referrals that you've given to us with clients that got scammed on different things in the past. And you actually, how did you initially engage with Gotham Investigations?
Well, basically, when you have a client that sits with you, you'll be surprised. Sometimes they'll sit and they'll break out and mention many things. And when they mention something that it's a target referral for you, like an investigation, PI work, or anything with psychic, I go ahead and refer it over to you.
We appreciate that, and we've been working with you guys for some time now. But everyone is scared right now with the recent downfall of the Silicon Valley Bank. Mm-hmm. How do you see that the effect that it's going to have on the banking industry in general?
I will tell you this, a lot of clients, a lot of people are freaking out with the situation since we had Silicon Valley Bank as well as Signature Bank go down. As you know, that Valley Bank was $1 billion asset bank, very large bank. Clients are thinking of taking out their money, but it's all about educating your clients. Remember, you have FDIC insurance. You're insured up to $250,000 per account ownership. There's no need to freak out as long as you have a banker or an officer that you can sit with and educate. And if you have anyone that's freaking out, send them my way. I will sit down with them and educate them. You might think, oh, I'm only insured $250,000 in this bank, $250,000. No, if you have a trust account and you have 4 beneficiaries, you're insured up to $1 million. So people do not know this. They don't know this, and there's bankers out there not educating the clients. It's all about educating the clients. Now, do I see a downfall? Do I see more banks going down? Yes, I do. I do see it. It's very normal. We went through this back in 2008. We saw it happen. You saw it back with the Great Depressions. That's why FDIC was created, because a lot of the banks closed out. What I do see is a lot of banks merging together. Instead of closing, I see a lot of mergers happening.
So when we talk about these banks shutting down throughout that's foresee that we're going to start happening. What banks are you affiliated with? Any of them, or are you just an independent bank?
We're just an independent bank. We're with Terra Bank. Again, we're affiliated with those international banks that I was telling you, Banco Grupo Promérica, but it's an affiliate.
How long have you been in business for?
Oh my God, Terra Bank's been in business since the 1990s, over 30 years. We've been servicing the South Florida area. Many years.
So some of the scams that we are seeing that you've referred some clients we could help, some clients we couldn't help.
Yeah.
What's going on with writing personal checks these days?
This is what's happening lately, guys. What's happening is the market right now is not about an individual going in to rob a bank. You don't see that as much anymore. They're robbing through paper, and they're robbing through stealing your mail. They're going to post offices and they're stealing actual checks, and they're washing the checks, changing the amounts, and they're changing the names. And they go ahead and deposit it with the mobile deposit. Remember, when you take a picture with mobile, you really not seeing the check physical. It's a copy. So you will not know if it's even altered or washed. You can't tell.
So when you say change the names, they're changing the names of who the check is made out
For
to?
example, I can give you a perfect example. The client that I referred to you, Marty. Basically, he had a check that was stolen in the mail. He sent it to a client. They stole the check. The check was for $245. They put an 8 in front of it, and they made it $8,245, and there was enough space in the front to write $8,245. And they changed the name, and they deposited this check. We were able to deposit it. We were able to catch it because it caused an overdraft on the account. If it didn't cause an overdraft, we were not going to catch it because the check was in sequence. Roughly the amount of the check is the amount of the checks that they write. So our system would not have picked it up.
Is there a time frame that a victim has to report that to the bank?
Oh, yes. Commercial accounts have 30 days. They have 30 days to report this. After 30 days, they can take the loss. That's why I recommend every commercial client try to reconcile your account daily. I know it's tough, but try to do that. Because if you do it daily, then we can do a late return and we won't have a loss. But if it's more than 30 days, commercial client will take a hit.
When you say reconcile, you mean review the
Review
accounts?
your accounts, balance your accounts, see what checks are coming in, and so forth.
So on, what about ACH fraud? I mean, it happened to me as well with my business account, and the biggest pain in the ass is when you have to change your business account number, and now you have all these payments going out, and you have to stop and recreate another account with American Express and everything else.
Yeah.
In my particular case, which I don't do it anymore, I believe this is how it happened. We use a payroll service for our payroll, but sometimes, we make an error, we make a mistake, or somebody comes in late, or somebody asks us for an advance,
Right.
and we would cut a business check.
Right.
So I'm not saying it was one of the guards, but they go to these check cashing places, and these check cashing places give you a call and say, yeah, this is me. Okay, boom. So in my particular case, I think it was FP&L. It was like I don't even know how anyone could have a $4,000 or $5,000 electric bill, but they did. And then the problem arises is they won't give you the information. They won't tell you at all who cashed this check in the account that it was cashed on, even though
No.
you're the account holder. And that could happen with utility bills, but I also understand it could happen with property taxes.
Oh, yes.
Where they could also use your ACH number for property taxes, and there's no way of you finding out even who the offender is.
Correct. Let me explain to you what happens. It happens a lot. When you have clients that you write out checks to, if they go to a check cashing store, we don't know who's at the other hand of the check cashing store. It's very simple. You can, for example, write a check to me. I can misplace the check. It got into the wrong hands. On your check, you have your routing number and your account number. With that number, I can just start making payments over the phone and ACH payments. So what happens is when you make payments over the phone, it's all electronically, which is the ACH. I can make an FPL payment. I can make a water bill. I can pay my association. I can pay whatever I want just by giving the routing number and the account number. I can even pay credit cards. I just go on there, put the routing number and account number. Remember, this is done electronically. So they don't look at the name. It's just electronically being debited. So what do I recommend nowadays is if you are a person that's writing a lot of checks, there is a service that's called Positive Pay that you can get with your bank. And it's a service that you go on your online every day and you'll see the check numbers that come in and you say, I pay, authorize this. It's a great service. It's something worth paying for because you might be paying 10 cents per item, an example, or 15 cents per item. You're worth paying 10 cents or 15 cents per item than having a $10, $20, $30,000 loss.
Sure. What I've done is I open up a separate account and I keep it like at a bare minimal now.
Okay.
And then I have checks that if somebody needs a check or if I have to write a business check, it comes out of that account.
So basically, the best thing you do was open a deposit account and an operating account. What happens is all your funds go to the deposit account, right? And then you write checks from your operating account. When you'll just transfer the exact amount that you're transferring to cover your checks. I recommend that. And what you're doing is the right thing today. If your bank doesn't have the Positive Pay or if it's too costly, that's another way of doing it. Because what's happening is your checks are going out, but where's your bulk of your money in your deposit account? No one has access to your account number in your deposit account. So that's a great thing you're doing.
That would be the way to do it.
Yeah.
Now, what about identity theft? Have you seen a lot going on with the bank?
I can tell you a story. It's really sad. This is an elderly lady came to see me at the bank, and she's like, I'm short $10,000 on my bank account. And when I started looking back, and I'm like, wait, but I don't see a payment for $10,000. Let me go back a year. Well, I find out there's an American Express credit card payment for $10,000. When I see the payment for $10,000, I ask her, what, do you have a credit card with American Express? You made a payment. She goes, no, I don't have a credit card. She opens up her wallet and shows, I only have this Visa, this MasterCard, and she Discover. She only had 3 credit cards. I go, you do not have American Express. Are you sure? She goes, no, I don't. And I go, but as I see the payment, usually if I can tell if it's fraud, I'll have somebody else's name. When you look at the ACH history and you do the investigation, I'll show the person's name of that credit card, right? It was her name. So I go, let's call American Express. So I sat down with her. I call American Express. They're like, no, she opened a credit card here over 6 months ago. And she made a payment from her own account. So it was totally identity theft. What they did was they stole her mail. When they stole her mail, those pre-approval credit cards, they received the pre-approval credit card. They fill out the information under her name. They applied for the credit card. They also stole her bank statements that had copies of her checks. So at this point, it's very hard to demonstrate that this is fraud because you have a credit card under your name and they're making the payments from your account. So at the end of the day, it was identity theft. I wrote a letter. I was able to, help her. It took over 45 days or 60. It was actually almost like 2 months before she got her money back from American Express. She did get her money back, but she had to file a police report because once that happened, she found out that they had also gotten a loan, because I helped her pull out her credit, that they had gotten a loan, a car loan under her name as well.
So what would be the purpose of them opening up a American Express card?
They were expending,
and then wanting to pay it back.
No, they were paying it back with her account so it would never get caught. So they can continue using the card. So they were maxing out the card and they were using her account to make the payments. And they would reuse the card again.
Okay, I mean, that actually happened to my wife one time, and when we identified it, I didn't report the card stolen because the bad guy was actually spending less than my wife on a monthly basis. So what I did was just pay his bill and told her she cannot get another card, and I left it as is, and I kind of saved money on that. Now, what about cramming, where they kind of like go online? Is there a lot of online theft where they're hacking these accounts, where they're cramming in, like they'll do the password a whole bunch of different times to see if they can catch it?
What's happening is cybersecurity. There's actually people, this is their full-time job. They'll go to a call center. They'll sit there, professionals sitting there, and this is, how can we steal money today? And this is what's happening. And it's called cybersecurity. You see it every day. I do monthly trainings on this, obviously in the bank. I can tell you a quick story. I have a top client of mine, owns several gas stations. His assistant received an email and she clicked on a link. And that link just opened up the computer and they were watching her all the time. So as they were watching her reconcile the accounts, all of a sudden we're seeing credit card payments done in all these accounts.
So they were actually on her computer.
They were on her computer watching
time she
her
would pay her credit
24/7.
card.
Yeah. And
Okay.
they got all the information. They got our clients' information. They were making credit card payments to Capital One, Scotia Bank. It was
Did she
a
get
lot.
that money back?
Yeah, we got it back. Reason being because it was reported before 30 days. It was a commercial account.
Now I know when you came in, I said you were glowing there, and I can't. Well, one of the things that we do is, I do is reach out to guardian angels. We all have them.
Excellent. Yes,
and
we
you
do.
you do have one on top of you, but it's a third party that's trying to say that somebody's watching over you, and there's kind of like fishes swimming around you. I don't know the meaning of that yet, but I hope it comes to me before our interview is over. But there's like
I hope so too. You tell me.
fishes in the background floating around and swimming around you there. But what about what other kind of, is there like an ATM fraud that's happening, and how does that happen? I know several times we've had clients, there's not really much we could do, but they put small cameras on the top and they read you when you're putting in your information. They actually have a device and they can tell what numbers you're pushing, and they'll copy it. I mean, I haven't used ATM card since I was like basically a teenager.
It happens. It happens with your ATMs. It happens in your gas stations as well. The ad was called the Slimmer. It's an attachment. So what do I recommend? It's so funny. I've been in the banking industry since 1999, and I'm so used to all this fraud that every time I go to an ATM or something, the first thing I'm doing is moving where I put my card, because if it's loose, I'm not putting my card in there.
So you should do that, I guess, at gas stations as well.
And gas stations as well. If you see something loose, do not put your card. And gas stations, that's what they do. They steal it. The moment you put your card, it picks up your information. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you that people do not know, when they tell you credit or debit and you're using your debit card, I recommend to put debit, because the moment you put your debit, you have to put your PIN number, right? But not only that, when it prints out your receipt or when the gas station gets your information, it blocks all your card number and only keeps the last 4 digits. Versus if you do it as a credit, you have to ask for a credit authorization and it picks up all your information. Years ago, I don't know if you remember, Home Depot and Walmart got hit. And what happened was they got hacked, and it was their merchant services that got hacked. So you might have received a letter saying, hey, we have to issue you a new card because it's possibly your card might have been duplicated or hacked. And that happens all the time. So these big boys, like I call them, they don't hit the little people anymore. They're going to the big guys. So they break into their system and they steal all the information. So if you're using a debit card, use it as a debit. Use your PIN number.
So you're actually giving advice that's contrary to the advice that I have been giving clients and stuff and family members. I always say use your American Express card.
Well, I agree to use a credit card. I'm just saying if there's people that want to use their debit card, I don't recommend to use your debit card anywhere. I always recommend to use your credit card and then pay your bill fully, and only use your debit card for emergencies like withdrawing cash. That's what I recommend. But you have a lot of people. But you have a lot of people that they're going shopping and they're using their debit cards. I recommend American Express. Why? Because it protects the consumer as well.
Now a lot of restaurants, they're finally going to the point where the waiter comes to the table or they have the device at the table. That was one of the biggest thefts that was happening everywhere. They'll pay a waiter that's making X amount of tips a day. He just has that little device you're talking about in his pocket. As soon as he walks away with the charge card, he swipes.
He had a slimmer. He had it on him, and he will swipe.
And they pay him X amount of dollars for a gold card, a black card, a platinum card. How do you prevent that from happening? And I'm sure you see it a lot when people come to the bank and
you do see it a lot. I mean, the guidelines and the regulations have been changing for the restaurants a lot because they were getting hit. And I will tell you, American Express protects the consumer. So if you had fraud on your American Express, that restaurant was going to get the hit, not you. You get your money back. So that's why you see a lot of places, they say, we don't accept American Express, and it's because of that reason.
Well, there's a point where you have to identify it. Like if they have your
Correct.
card, they steal it. And a lot
Correct.
that was happening during the holidays that I've seen even when I was a police officer is you're shopping at Macy's or whatever. Mm-hmm. You have the scammers that are working there that are actually getting a job for the purposes of credit card theft, for the purposes of identity theft. And you'll go there with, say, a Visa card or American Express.
Correct.
They'll actually have, other cards behind the counter, some that might not even be a real credit card, but you pay with your, say, card. You're there talking to your family member, whatever, they give you your card back. How many people actually look to see if your name is on that card and if what you're getting back is?
Yeah.
Unless you go to another store and you're using the same card. But if you go home, until you use that card again, you're not going to realize you've been scammed.
Correct.
And during that period, they're charging
Correct.
right away.
Correct.
And normally what they do is they'll run to a gas station. They'll run to, stores. They'll make Best Buy and start buying TVs and purchases and stuff
And
like
they
that.
make large purchases and they go through.
So what other thefts do you see happening in the banking industry?
I will tell you what you're seeing again, like I mentioned, is all the paper theft. A lot of fraudulent checks, counterfeit checks, wash checks. That's what you're seeing mainly now. You do see the debit card frauds, but we're going back to the basics, which was years ago. Oh, they stole my check. Oh, they made a copy of a check. And that's what's happening mainly. And I will tell you, you have a lot of people that are opening accounts, and you have to train your team, because if we're off of 107th and 8th Street example, and you have somebody that's coming from Florida City all the way down here, or maybe Cutler Bay, what are you doing in our area? Do you work in our area? So they're opening accounts. They'll open it with just $100, and boom, they'll deposit a bad check, a fraudulent check.
Wow.
And you see that happening again. A lot of people.
By the way, the kind of reading that I'm getting from you is, but it's not making sense because it's a name of Jose, but it's actually a female. That doesn't make sense. Did you have like a family member that passed away at a
Josefa.
young age?
Young age? No, my mom was Josefa.
Like I'm young age. I mean, 50s, 60s.
Oh yeah, my mom, 64. And her name is Josefa. Josefina.
Okay, because it wasn't making any sense. I'm getting the name of Jose,
Josefa.
but I'm saying it's a female, and she's like, she's not your guardian, but she's saying you're well protected. Just something out of the blue that I brought
Yeah,
up there. So,
yeah. Josefa, my mom's name.
well, that makes sense. Jose, Josefa.
Yeah, yeah.
That makes sense. I guess that's the Spanish.
And I get that a lot. That she's always
there
around me.
watching
Yeah.
you. So
Yeah.
that was incredible. But that's why you're glowing today. I guess she kind of knew that you were coming in here. So what advice could you give anybody opening up a bank account? And also, what is the purpose of somebody opening up a duplicate account? Like I'll go to a bank, or I'll have my office person that's involved in the scam open up a duplicate account with Ileana Cabajal and your information and actually put money in it. Why would I open an account in your name?
Well, definitely people would do the duplicate account because you're never going to be able to target the actual individual. So it's really identity theft.
Okay.
For example, right now, Jeff, Jeffrey, I can say, somebody stole your documentation and they went to the bank to open an account under your name. So if anything is to happen with that account, they're going to deposit bad checks. They're going to overdraw the account. They're going to do so many things. And at the end of the day, they're not going to come and look for him. They're going to come look for you. That's your name.
So that's the
It's a lot of
purpose behind
that's
that.
the purpose on
Okay.
that, and you see it a lot. You do see it a lot. It really is about, it's called Customer Information Program, CIP. We have to authenticate our client at the beginning. We have to really identify our clients, and it's part of the procedures. It's part of the procedure. It's not as easy as it was before back in the days. It's just a lot easier to apply for accounts online because at the end of the day, when you're doing it online, we don't meet the individual. But us here in TerraBank, we definitely at the end meet the individual. We visit the clients. I do Zoom meetings with the clients to make sure we identify the client.
So personal accounts are insured up to.
But every account is insured up to $250,000 per account ownership. So basically, I can give you a perfect example. Let's say you have an account, yourself and your wife, right? That account is insured to $500,000 because it's $250,000 per ownership.
Now, what about if I have a business account? Are those insured?
That is insured only up to $250,000. Remember, it's per account ownership. So who's the ownership of that business? That business is the owner with the EIN. You can have 10 authorized signers. Doesn't matter. It's up to $250,000.
So what if I took that and opened up another account with the same bank under that?
Up to $250,000. Yes.
And what if I took that account and split it with another bank?
Then in the other bank, you're also insured up to $250,000.
Okay, so you're recommending if you have a business account, don't go further than the 250,000.
Nowadays people freak out. It's not something I recommend, because then you have accounts with 5-10 accounts, different banks. But if you are concerned about the situation, especially what's happening, it's up to 250,000, business entity. You do have clients that have different types of entities. It's different EIN, so each account will be insured up to 250.
And what does that insurance entail when you say you're insured up to 250?
FDIC. If the bank goes bad or the bank closes, you will be insured your money.
Oh, so it's not doesn't insure you on a business account if a fraud happens to you?
No, has nothing to do with fraud.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
if I'm fraudulently my business account, what's the difference between a business and a personal account if you've been hit with a large amount of fraud?
Well, what happens with a business account, you have 30 days to claim that fraud. If not, you can take the hit and the loss. Which happens is if we don't, if we have fraud and you claim it 2 months later, I'm going to put the claim through with the other bank. But the other bank can turn around and say, hey, I'm not sending you the money. This was over 45 days. You should have caught it before.
Wow.
So that's the regulation on business accounts. Business accounts is not really protected. Consumer is protected, especially with debit cards. When you have a debit card, I don't recommend business accounts to have debit cards. I recommend for you to have it for any emergencies. But for you to be using it, I recommend for you to have a credit card. Why? Because if you have a business debit card and there's a fraud, there's no regulation out there that protects a business owner. Versus a consumer debit card, there is. Within 10 business days, I have to give you a temporary credit until they finalize the investigation. See the difference from the business and personal debit
Yes.
card? So I recommend always, American Express is phenomenal. They have the blue card. I recommend all the clients that open business accounts with me to apply. They check your credit. Your credit's good. They'll give you a card. Get
out
a
of the-
debit card for whatever reason you need it, but don't be using that debit card everywhere.
Out of the American Expresses for business, do you recommend the blue, the gold?
Yeah, you know what? It really all depends what the client is looking for. Each card has different benefits. But when you're a startup business, it's very hard for you to get the gold. They start off with you with the blue, and then they'll move you up. I've seen that happen. But they'll give you a limit of $5,000-$10,000, no issues at all.
And what's your title at the bank?
I'm a vice president, branch relationship manager.
That's never had a assistant POTUS here
There you
at the helm, but that is fantastic. So there you have it, Gotham Investigations. You could find us on our website, gothaminvestigations.us, and we have Ileana Carbajal, also known as
La mejor banquera de Miami.
And translation in English means one hot banker. Are you a fan of our show? Do you like our show? Then comment, hit the like button, and subscribe, or you might be the next one we investigate.